Council. We are at caucus at this point. I'm going over the agenda for today, Tuesday, September 28th, for our legislative session. I'm calling the meeting to order at 6 o'clock, then followed by the roll call, then followed by the invocation. Mr. Allen, would you mind doing the invocation, please?
Sure.
Following the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Majors, would you mind doing the Pledge of Allegiance?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Followed by communications, we have Mr. Dan Cowan here tonight. He's going to give us a presentation. Following communications, we have courtesy of the floor. We then move on to approval of minutes. Members, approval of minutes for the legislative session of September 14th, 2021. We move on to reports to committee. Report from Chair. Sorry. Report to committee. Report from Chair Green on the work session of September 21st, 2021. Ms. Green, are you ready with your report?
Yes, President.
Thank you. We move on to report from Chair Matson on the public hearing and work session of September 21st, 2021. Mr. Matson, are you ready with your report today?
I am, President.
Thank you. And followed by a report from Chair Majors on the public hearing of September 21st, 2021. Mr. Majors, are you ready with your report?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. We finally move on to ordinance for first reading, which is Bill 15, 2021. That will be placed in Public Safety Committee. Followed by ordinance for amendment. We have none this evening. We move on to ordinance for final passage, Bill 10, 2021. Council members, we will be doing a vote. Moving on to Bill 14, 2021, which will be a vote. We then move on to resolutions. Resolution 60, 2021, I will be suspending the rules. We then move on to resolution 66, 2021, that's a vote. Resolution 67 of 2021 is a vote. Resolution 68 of 2021, that will be placed in Building and Housing Committee. Moving on to resolution 69, that will be placed in Budget and Finance. Council members, we have resolutions 70, 71, and 72. These are reappointments to the License and Tax Appeal Board. Is there any question or comment? Would you like for the individuals to be present in the interview? Or would you feel good about voting on those particular reappointments? Any discussion?
I'm going to go.
Mr. Hedges. So we will be voting on resolution 70, which is a reappointment to the License and Tax Appeal Board. Resolution 71, which is another reappointment to the License and Tax Appeal Board, and followed by resolution 72, which is a reappointment to the License and Tax Appeal Board. We then move on to resolution 73, that will be placed in Budget and Finance. Followed up finally with resolution 74, which will be placed in Administration. Oh, I'm sorry. Pardon me. That will be placed in Public Safety. And then move on to old business, council members, followed by new business, and finally adjournment. Questions? Okay, we will re-adjourn 6 o'clock. Until 6. I'm sorry, until 6. Yeah, I didn't see that Thomas Chester is on the agenda.
It just came to us, so it'll be down for the next session. So,
Council members, would you please look at resolution 73? I understand there were some questions on resolution 73, so if you would submit those to Mr. Allen, that would be helpful. Thank you. So did you see? Oh, no, no, sorry. Oh, yeah, we'll take, yeah. We started to do the house. Okay, so now that's right across the streets. But we're not, some of them are stuck. But our business, we have housing. Is that for housing? But it also- this right here. So then before to do it. And then get last one. They never. This 913. But I did classify it as. So I mean, this is not. It's not. Well, we can't do it. That's all. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Harrisburg City Council. My name is Wanda D. Williams, President of Harrisburg City Council. This is our legislative session. Today is Tuesday, September 28, 2021. I call this meeting to order at 6:00 p.m. Mr. Petrossi, please do the roll call.
Mr. Allen. Present. Ms. Bowers.
Present.
Ms. Daniels.
Here.
Ms. Green.
Present.
Mr. Mattson. Here. Mr. Majors. Here. Ms. Williams.
Here, thank you very much, Mr. Petrossi. We now move on to invitations.
Thank you. If we could just all bow our heads for a moment of silence. And today, if we could just think about those in our city who are struggling with food insecurity, housing issues, those who are still struggling with the effects and impact of the COVID pandemic. Pause for a few minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. We move on to pledge of allegiance, Mr. Majors.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Majors. We now move on to communications this evening. We have a presentation by Mr. David Conley. Please come forward, Mr. Conley.
Thank you, Council President. I'm aware that there's not a projector available, but I have some paper copies of these slides. It's a very short presentation, if I'm right.
Mr. Petrossi, you get this.
Perfect. And Councilor, we actually just got this in your emails.
Mr. Conley, I would appreciate if you would put this in layman terms for some of the people that are watching this evening or the audience that's sitting here with us this evening. I understand this is another agreement that in exchange you came up with Mr. Brunner
That's me.
and Mr. Miller. Okay.
I know who you are.
You doing?
I 100% will do my best.
Well, the reason that I stated that is because it has been stated that individuals are not aware of how to conduct financial billings in the city of Harrisburg. So I want to make sure that the people in the city of Harrisburg understand that the agreement that you made today was done in fact with Mr. Runner and Mr. Thank you. Okay.
Well, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak this evening. This is in relation to a budget reallocation that council is being asked to consider later this evening. So I'm happy to provide some context to that. It's related to the agreement that the city reached with AMBAC Assurance Corporation that is pending and be effectuated shortly. Just to review the agreement at a high level, AMBAC agreed to provide significant principal reductions and temporary interest rate reductions on the forbearance liability that the city has accrued with AMBAC in exchange for the city agreeing to defease or pay off its stadium bonds that were issued by the Harrisburg redevelopment. The city provides a general obligation guarantee on those bonds, which means that the city has to step in and the HRA cannot make the full payments. And AMBAC insures those bonds, which is their interest in having them paid off. Defeasing those bonds will require a cash outlay of about $5 million, and that's already in 2021 budget. The agreement also provides, contingent on that paying off of the stadium bonds, additional discounts on prepayments up to $4 million on the AMBAC forbearance liability. For prepayments up to $4 million, AMBAC will match 38%. So if the city prepays $4 million, that works out to about $1.52 million in additional AMBAC. So the combined credits from defeasing the stadium bonds, which is 1.7 million and change, plus the 1.52 in prepayment credit is just about $3.3 million in credits that AMBAC will provide the city. In addition, AMDAC agrees to temporarily reduce the interest rate on the forbearance liability from 6.75% to 5% for a period of 3 years. So after those prepayments are made and a balance remains, we won't be accruing interest at as high a rate. 5 is still pretty high, but it's certainly better than 6.75. And it is important to note too that once these prepayments are made and the standing bonds are paid off, there's an option, but there's certainly no obligation for the city to refinance instead. It's 2 separate things. The city can regroup and devise a repayment strategy after all the dust settles and we see what the balance is on. So as far as next steps, it's fairly straightforward. Right now, there's $2 million in the budget for the prepayment portion of this transaction, and council's being asked to consider an additional $2 million to maximize that $4 million. Council's also being asked to consider $150,000 in contingency for the fees, and so the bonds, it's contingent. We're getting closer to the end of the year. That's an important condition that meant to mention on the first page. The paying off the stadium bonds and the prepayments to get the discounts all have to happen by December 31st. And it's cutting it a little closer than I think we anticipated at the beginning of the year. So for an abundance of caution, we're just adding a little contingency to make sure we can execute. So that is the summary. I'm happy to answer any questions that council may have.
So in actuality, it was not necessary to refinance the bonds.
Well, it's not necessary to execute this AMDAC. That's true.
Refinance the bonds as American. It's
Well-
not, we don't have to refinance the bonds at this point.
You do not have to
We can
refinance
do
the
this
bonds.
deal without refinancing the bonds.
That's-
So in layman's terms, I want the public to understand.
And that's an important decision. I know that's something we've been going back and forth on.
Right. Exactly. So what about the $1.5 million that we paid to AMDAC last year? Are we on the hook for them paying the $1.5 million this year because of the 6.75% interest?
The liability has been accruing interest at the 6.75% rate.
So we'll pay 1.5 again.
It's absorbed.
Right.
It's been added to the line.
Well, I'll move on, and the council members ask questions. I have quite a few to ask. But Alice Davis, I'll start with you. Do you have any questions to ask Mr. Conley? Mr. Majors?
No, not at this time, but I may later.
Mr. Allen?
Yes, thank you. So just in terms of summarizing, essentially it looks like we're paying $9 million this year, the 5 and the 4.
Yes.
Assuming that I know we need to evaluate what the general fund balance is in 2022, should we be in a healthy position once again? Would it be safe to make the assumption that we could essentially potentially take care of this within the next budget this year and the next 2?
According to the projections in the 5-year plan, very difficult and it's not feasible to maintain a fund balance target level in that is set in the 5-year plan.
I know we agreed to this in principle today through some discussions, but I'm curious, do we have a sense for once we do the $9 million this year, what we're looking at as potential like principal and interest accrued going into next year once that payment's made?
Yes, I can get you the exact number. It's a math calculation, but I think it's about 19 after all the prepayments are made, and of course the statement bonds would be totally different.
And for us to, I know, and I was reading the minutes from last week's presentation, I see it, 6 kind of options out there. Based on kind of going down this path, and I kind of want to make the assumption, at least the push for us to, I won't be here to everybody else, but the idea is still trying to push to see what we can resolve by the next. And it would be advantageous for us to, doing so and avoid some of that long. Even at 5%, but still 5% of 19 million is still a sizable amount that we approve. time. So that's just my little question. Colleagues knowing that I'm not here. A big challenge to say, can we get this done in the next 2 years? I don't think I have any other questions right now. Just really want to kind of emphasize, I'm glad that we were able to push to have some additional discussions about this going forward. I know Rhonda was really driving this last spring to try to make sure that we can do the right thing. So I'm glad that we've arrived at this point, some degree of a solution that does not require us to go ahead and finance. So I will defer back to my colleagues.
Mr. Maxim.
Just because there's been a lot of public back and forth, I hate to put them on the spot, but Mr. Bruner, since you are present with your staff, would you be willing to sort of comment on your thoughts on the process and where we are thus far? And
Well, I'm not gonna
Approach the
comment on
mic.
my thoughts of the process.
Oh,
I'll bring a mic.
I'll come on to the end, Andy.
Wait a minute, excuse me,
Sorry.
Wait a minute, Mr. Bruner, just have a seat for a minute. Actually, questions directly. I'm gonna ask Mr. Bruner.
Should I wait for you?
Yeah. Just wait, let's wait and check on questions.
okay, I didn't know you were doing it.
Yeah.
I'll wait for my questions.
All right, I'll wait to answer them.
Okay, appreciate that. Then I don't have any additional questions. For me, it's important that we're chief fiscal officers for the city, that we're on the same page.
Thank you, Mr. Maxim.
If-
I apologize. I should have said that. And, Ms. Green.
Thank you, President Williams. I don't have many questions, just one. When would the reduced interest rate begin? Would it begin on the 31st of December, or is it something starting?
As soon as we were able to effectuate the fees, and we still need an appealable court order that.
I'm sorry, just speaking to the microphone.
Yeah, my apologies. As soon as we effectuate the defeasance, which will be before the 31st, as soon as we can, and I think with certainly within 2 months, hopefully sooner than that.
Okay, and that's a 3-year reduction, correct? So that would start the clock on that 3-year.
That's correct.
Thank you. The only question I have.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Ms. Bowers.
I don't have any questions. Thank you for your presentation and for the hard copies of this.
Mr. Conley, what is the cost savings to the city?
The cost savings to the city of
Would be how much? 7 million, 8 million a year?
But the MBEC deal itself is 3.3 million right off the top. The I have it on my slide.
Will the general obligation payments be done next year by doing this agreement?
Well, the general obligation payments are going to be done next year regardless.
Okay, thank you. So what is the cost saving that we can look at?
The reduction of it's about an $8.6 million annual debt service payment, and that will go away.
That was my question.
But and I want to add to just for that, like, so some of the plans have called us for paying this out over the course of the next 5 or more years based on the deal. So you think about, what would 5% interest be annually on $19 million that was carried forward? That's significant. So us reducing our obligation, looking at the 3-year payoff period, reduces those obligations and saves us 2 years. It probably would be at least $4 or $5 million in interest alone. That's without me not using a calculator.
It's low.
I just did it. Okay, any other questions to Mr. Conley? Council members? And we'll move forward. Thank you, Mr. Conley. You might want to sit there for a couple of minutes in case there's other questions after we hear from Mr. Bruner.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Bruner, for being here this evening.
It's a pleasure.
So turn your mic on.
I'm glad you can make it.
It's on.
So am I. Is it on?
It's on.
Okay. Mr. Madsen.
So I guess if you could just help for the public's benefit, know that there's been some differences between some of the figures that the administration has put forward and some of your calculations. Just walk us through what those discrepancies are or have been, and yeah, just to start.
Well, we work in a world of estimates. Mr. Connolly does, and so do I. His estimates are different than mine. We have different techniques. I think mine have been tried and true over the years. You guys have seen my work, how close I usually am to actual expenses and actual fund balances. But we decided to stop talking about that and just try to get the deal done. Those are kind of superfluous to the deal that's before you today, whatever those things are. And they're superfluous to next year too. Dan continues to think that we're not going to have any money next year to do these kinds of things. I think we will. And you know what? The beauty of this deal is that we don't have to do anything till we know. So this gives us a lot of options. First of all, he did a really good job of putting the deal together to the benefit of the city, and I applaud him for it. It was a very good deal. And so we were able to pay this down, we're looking at $26 million that we owe now. We'll pay 9 and we'll end up owing about 18, 19, Dan. So you think about that, we made a very large move for not as much money as it cost us. So that's always a good thing. The other thing is, and since we don't have to refi, we have options and we can just sit and wait and see how our cash looks. And we have not accounted for, although we should be getting some cash from the federal money that were reimbursed for our COVID expenses before the end of the year. And we're looking maybe $4 or $5 million for that. It's not in any of these estimates. And so that's one of the beauties of the way this thing is. We don't have to jump. We can just wait and let's see what happens. We get to the end of the year and this cash balance is higher than we thought it was going to be. Then maybe we can pay a little more this year. Maybe we don't. But the thing is, we're not locked into a bunch of interest payments and pledges against our cash flow. Sure, it's going to be lower, but it costs us a lot of money. This has saved at least $10 million not doing the refi. So I think it's a good deal. Dan Miller was at the meeting and he's given me permission to bless this as well. So, and I think Dan Connolly thinks it's a proper thing for us to do. So I think I wouldn't hesitate to move me forward. I would say this though, and I want to thank you, Wanda, for putting the brakes on this thing. You know, if we hadn't taken another look at this was going through, as you well know. We were one document away. You guys were one document away from passing this, and this would have been a done deal. And we've been sitting here. Now, we would have gotten the benefits that Dan talks about, although sometimes it was hard to figure it out. They were there. We still would have been now in another 5 years of debt service payments. As a controller and a human being, I try to be out of debt as much as I can, and I think it's not bad for the city. Now, there are times when you need debt. You want to build a firehouse or pave a road, yeah, you got to borrow money, but not always. And especially if you don't need to, I don't think we should. And then the notion that in June of, or in 2022, our GEO bond payment goes away. That's $8 million a year. That goes right to the bottom line. With the additional taxes that we were able to retain, we're looking at a pretty nice future if we can just keep it together for another year. That's all we really need. And we are sitting on a lot of cash right now. We have what do we have in the bank? $39 million in the bank right now. And we paid our debt service payments for this year. So we don't have a lot of demands against that bank balance. And I think the prudent thing is what we're doing. And it's kind of exciting to think about the day that this city is out of debt completely. And then let's not do it again.
That's what we did. I want to add to, because there's been so much discussion on the general fund. That's something that, unfortunately, we haven't had like that mid-year budget conversation, which was precipitated when trying to understand where we might end up this year. So I think the beauty of this deal that we're arriving at is not going to have a negative impact or a risky impact on that general fund balance. So to Charlie's point, we may end the year and still have some significant general fund balance. I agree with Charlie's presumption that I think we'll have more than what we think we will right now, mostly due because I know we expend on unused personnel funds every year, and we typically have some savings there that we don't realize until the year is done. So there is the impact there. But I do think the prudent thing for this council to continue to consider, particularly with next year's budget, which I will not have a part to play in anymore. But the thing to consider is how we manage those funds in 2022 to set us up for a smart 2023 when hopefully we could resolve this once and for all. And with the elimination of the GEO bonds in 2023 and the period of which we still have the elevated tax revenue coming from the LSC and the EIT, us taking care of business right now helps us to be better positioned for when those things sunset. Because when they do sunset, as much as we focus on economic development and things happening, those are a slow impact to us, right? So if we can take care of these obligations now, and even if we have to deal with at some point the loss of those EIT and LSC, we'll be in a much better position to be able to maintain our general operating expenses that we have right now. So I think that's why what we're doing right now is vitally important to kind of set the stage for the next year.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Madison?
No, I thank you, that was.
Anyone else?
Yeah, no, hey, Charlie, just real quick, or Dan, either one. So, we're looking at 39 million. That doesn't account for, as you mentioned, any additional COVID related repayments that we would get from reimbursements, excuse me, that we would get from the federal government. Should we be in a position to put any additional dollars on to this agreement, right? So any additional pay down, does that have an impact, or will this be the agreement?
Well, it seems to me we don't have to decide that now.
Okay.
That's the beauty of it. We have a lot of different opinions. That's all they are. It's like two guys deciding who's going to win the World Series. And I've got a lot of good ideas, and he has a lot of good ideas, but the World Series gets won by who wins it. That's what we're looking here. That we'll know what the number is, and we can decide if we feel like spending more or less.
And there aren't any restrictions.
Yeah, so
in the new-
no restrictions.
On it's in actually in the existing agreement, soon to be amended.
One.
Well, that's another thing
I
he
think
did.
there was a $1 million minimum.
That's another thing he did, was to get those restrictions off, gives them even more flexibility. So we're really going to be in the catbird seat come January.
Okay, yeah, so thank you, Dan. I just wanted to get just to make sure that everyone understood that. So if we're in a better cash position, or we don't have to take any additional action currently, but there are things that you can do. Fine, if we were to take care of our obligations.
It's a beautiful thing because it's all in the original deal from the first time about how we don't really have to do much to let get paid us down. We don't have to talk to them. We just send them a check, especially call them. But you know what I mean? We can do what we want.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Dan, for your work.
Thank you, Charlie. Well, now the community knows that you and I know fiscal management. We were told we didn't know anything about fiscal.
Oh, I know you do.
Well.
I just have
I've only been here 16 years.
Yeah,
And we structured
pick something up on
the
the job.
$630 million deficit we had. So thank you, Charlie, and thank you, Mr. Conley.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate your assistance. Moving on to courtesy of the floor this evening. Anyone who would like to come to the mic, please do so now. And I will start with my right. Please come to the mic. No one? Okay. I'll start with the middle. Anyone who would like to come to the mic, do so now, please. Okay. And to my left. Okay, thank you. Everybody trying to go home tonight? Okay, approval of minutes. Approval of minutes for the legislative session of September the 14th, 2021. Council members, any additions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, minutes will stand as approved. We now move on to reports of committees. Report from Chair Green on the work session of September 21st, 2021. Ms. Green.
Thank you, President Williams.
Welcome.
During the work session of September 21st, 2021, the Public Safety Committee discussed two pieces of legislation. The first was Bill 14, 2021, an ordinance amending Chapter 3-133, parking meters of Title 3, Public Safety to modernize the process for parking meter zone notification, signage, and methods of payment for parking in the parking meter zone. This would change the current language and update the signage, and allow for other payment methods other than single space meters to be used to pay for parking. This would include apps and other devices that are currently being used. There were questions if this would decrease accessibility, but these would not remove any payment options, but instead allow for more payment options to pay for parking. The second item discussed was Resolution 66 of 2021, which is a resolution authorizing the city of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a professional service agreement with Kittleson and Associates to provide on-call services supporting Vision Zero rapid response projects, including traffic and safety analysis, planning and design services. This would allow for the city to have a company on call to handle shorter-term, time-sensitive projects that arise in regards to Vision Zero and traffic safety in the city, so that they can mitigate and address issues more rapidly. I would encourage my colleagues to vote in support of both Bill 14 and Resolution 66, 2021. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Gray. We now move on to report from Chair Matz on the public hearing and also the work session of September 21st, 2021. Mr. Matz.
Thank you, President Williams. On September 21st of 2021, Community and Economic Development Committee met to discuss resolutions 67 and resolution 60. Resolution 67 is a resolution of the Council of the City of Harrisburg supporting the Protecting the Right of Organizing PRO Act, which provides a general opportunity for the labor movement in the framework to increase pay and protection for workers. The PRO Act is largely a federal piece of legislation that is passed through bipartisan support through the House and is currently under review in the Senate. Senator Casey is a co-sponsor of the bill. And this legislation would essentially make it easier for workers to organize in their workplaces, but also hold employers that were acting in bad faith to allow those organizers to, those workers to organize accountable. So it protects workers and makes it easier for them to start collective bargaining agreements. I just sort of gave an overall, for the record, I am employed by the Pennsylvania AFL-CIO. And I gave a brief overview of the legislation. If council were to go through, essentially let federal policymakers know that council supported our legislation. So that was resolution 67. Next, we discussed resolution 60, and for the record, we had 2 work sessions discussing this resolution. The previous one was at our previous work session. That was 7. Resolution 60 is a resolution approving a preliminary final land development plan to construct a 49-unit multifamily dwelling affordable housing project on 5 parcels located at 1008 and 1012 North 6th Street and 429441 Hirsch Street. At our first work session where we discussed the resolution, Deputy Director of Planning Bureau, David, apologize on his last name, Clapsettle, provided an overview of the plan, and the applicant was present as well and provided council with information on the plan. Council then followed up with questions of note. Council asked questions around MWBE participation. The applicant did provide goals and a plan for MWBE participation. The applicant did provide an overview over parking and lighting as well for the project. Council did have some concerns over the parking issue, particularly distance for some of our seniors to walk to the housing. So that's why council moved to have a second workshop to discuss the resolution. This brought us to last week, and last week we asked some additional questions. The project is time sensitive, so we have moved forward for a final vote this evening. The project is in compliance with all of the city's rules and regulations, And as a result, I would encourage my colleagues to vote in the affirmative of the resolution. That concludes my report, President.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Thank you. We now move on to report from Chair Majors on the public hearing of September 21st, 2021. Mr. Majors.
Thank you, President Williams.
Welcome.
On Tuesday, September 21st, the Public Works Committee held a public hearing to consider Bill 10 of 2021, an ordinance vacating and striking from the official map of the city of Harrisburg, Mercer Street, Goodyear Street, and Filson Street within the block bounded by Berry Hill Street, South 23rd Street, Brookwood Street, and South 22nd Street pursuant to Chapter 3-109 of the Codified Ordinance of the city of Harrisburg. We heard from Ms. Harrisburg, heard from Director Knight, as well as the applicant, Mr. Joshua Chucky. So what they are looking to do, should they receive the street vacation, which is currently used as a parking lot for Boyle Transportation, Brookwood Commons, 140 units that would be located in that area. There are a few conditions that still need to be met by Capital Regional Water and agreement to which they all agreed to. Members of council do not have many questions, as this has been an issue that has come before council several times, and I would encourage my council members to vote their conscience on this application. It was also noted that by our city solicitor that due to this coming before council prior to the passage of the affordable housing ordinance, that the conditions in the affordable housing ordinance they weren't subject to those or that future development. And that concludes the report from the public hearing of September 21st.
Thank you, Mr. Majors. We now move on ordinance first reading. Bill 15, 2021, Mr. Petrowski. Please begin into record.
Bill 15 of 2021 is an ordinance updating Chapter 2-707 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Harrisburg governing the police retirement system to provide technical amendments and incorporate the methodology for calculating final salary to ensure compliance with certain Internal Revenue Service requirements for governmental pension plans.
That would be placed in Public Safety Committee. We now move on ordinance for amendment. We have none this evening. We then move forward to ordinance for final passage, Bill 10, 2021. Mr. Petrowski, please read into record.
Bill 10 of 2021 is an ordinance vacating and striking from the official map of the city of Harrisburg, Mercer Street, Goodyear Street, and Filson Street within the block bounded by Berry Hill Street, South 23rd Street, Brookwood Street, and South 22nd Street pursuant to Chapter 3-109 of the Codified Ordinances of the city of Harrisburg.
Council members, any additional questions or comments on Bill 10?
Yes, could the solicitor remind us of the standard of review prior to the lapse of the passage of the rules regarding street vacations?
So the standard for street vacations in general was fairly discretionary by the council. It was really just a question, unlike a land development plan where there's a standard articulated that if they meet it, they're essentially entitled to it. This was a discretionary function of the council, and it led to the street vacation ordinance being modernized to sort of create a methodology. So,
Any additional questions or comments on Bill 10, council members? Hearing none, Mr. Petrowski, please call the vote.
Mr. Allett,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers,
No.
Ms. Daniels. No. Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Mattson,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
No.
Ms. Williams.
No.
Bill 10 fails.
I was not present last week, and I just want to make a statement about Bill 10. I'm a little concerned about City of Harrisburg continuing giving street vacates. When you look at this Bill 10, it has 7 streets that were vacated, taken off the City of Harrisburg map. So that's a little concerning to me, and I think I would like to hear a little bit more about why we're going to do that. I'm sorry if I wasn't here, Mr. Petrowski and other council members, but I will reach out to the developer, Mr. Knight, if you have that information, please give that to me after the meeting. Thank you. We can look at putting it back on at another date. Is this time sensitive? I guess not, because this has been 7 years.
It is time sensitive, so you know, and I believe right now the council's vote eliminates this project from happening. That's what just happened. The land development plan cannot move forward if it's an essential piece of it to make it happen.
This was the last piece after 7 years.
This was the last piece after 7 years, so.
This is the last extension.
Right, and the extensions were, I think, 3 total, including one for COVID.
I remember.
Right, but I'm saying if this would stop the project in its tracks, and the only option I am aware of after this date without starting over on the street vacation would be the council has the right at its next legislative session, if it was so inclined, to move to reconsider its vote. And it's only allowed to do it at the next session, it's not allowed to do it anytime after that. But that is what happens, is it's basically the entire project is dead in the water as of this vote tonight.
And certainly I will consider, moving into the next session for reconsideration. Thank you, Mr. Grover.
Well,
Mr. Knight, please give that information to me. Moving on to Bill 14, 2021, Mr. Petrosky, please read it into record.
Bill 14 of 2021 is an ordinance amending chapter 3-133 parking meters of Title 3 Public Safety to modernize the process for parking meter zone notification, signage, and methods of payment for the parking in a parking meter zone.
Council members, any additional questions or comments on Bill 14? Hearing none, please call the vote.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers,
Yes.
Ms. Daniels, Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Madison.
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes,
Bill 14 passes.
thank you. Moving on to resolutions, resolution 60 of 2021. Then into record, Mr. Petrosky.
Resolution 60 of 2021 is a resolution authorizing the city of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a professional services agreement with Kittleson Associates to provide on-call services supporting Vision Zero rapid response projects.
Sorry, Mr. Petrosky, number 60. Resolution 60.
Whatever.
Yeah, you read 66.
A resolution 60 of 2021 is a resolution approving a preliminary final land development plan to construct a 49-unit multifamily dwelling affordable housing project on 5 parcels located at 1008 and 1012 North 6th Street and 429 to 441 Her Street.
Council members, I would ask, we have a motion to suspend the rules.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Would the applicants please come to the front? Well, good evening, how are you?
Hi, good evening.
Mr. Spatter, I apologize if I have additional questions. I know you and I have been texting back and forth. But I am a little concerned. I asked you about appropriate letters from Tabernacle Baptist Church and Department of General Services. And you gave me a letter of intent, not an agreement. So do you have an actual agreement from the Department of General Service? And do you have an actual agreement with Tabernacle Baptist Church?
We do not yet have an agreement, Council President. When we went to the zoning board, because we are so far from the construction, from the actual certificate of occupancy, the zoning board allowed us to come back before we can get a CO with the agreements in place. And so that is why we did not have an agreement. We don't yet have an agreement in hand because we're not obligated to. But the DGS, Department of General Services, which, by the way, I heard they don't give you a letter within 6 months for anything, gave us a letter within a week talking about the 10 parking spaces on 6th Street.
Yes, I understand that. I see the letter, copy of the letter, but that was, like I said, a letter of intent. And that also can be breached. So I'm a little concerned about that. I just want to make sure this is a firm agreement between the two of you, the two different private organizations, Tabernacle Baptist Church, and also the Department of General Services,
We-
to provide the necessary parking for our senior citizens.
We cannot get the certificate of occupancy from the city of Harrisburg unless we deliver at least 19 parking spaces as per the zoning board. So we have 4 on site already, and then we have 15 and 10, we have 25 more in terms of the letters of agreement.
But let me just say that I'm really upset about the fact that you are utilizing Messiah Lutheran Church parking, which is contracted through the Department of General Services. You and I met after the meeting 2
Yes,
years ago, and it's still not as lighted as I like it to be, because it allows for elements of criminal nature to my senior citizen walk from point A to point B. Also, I'm concerned about the crosswalk, and you and I talked about that as well. That will be upon you to contact the Department of Transportation, make sure you get the proper lighting in that area, not the city of Harrisburg. I'm concerned, wait a minute,
Yes, ma'am.
hold up. The reason being because I may have those individuals who have hearing impairment, and also those who have medical conditions who could not get across that crosswalk. Now, I did my due diligence, and last week I stood at the corner of both in North Sixth Street. And I wrote down how many times individuals who would come to that designated stop in that light, they do a quick stop and jump and turn right around the corner. And I counted 22 in a 20-minute period. So I'm a little concerned about my senior citizens walking from the Messiah Lutheran Church parking lot and coming across a busy intersection or crosswalk. So if you can assure me that you're going to take care of that, or you know what direction to go in to correct that, then I would have no problem, because I think this is a great idea for senior citizens of Harrisburg, because we have 300 on the list. But I don't want to jeopardize their health, nor do I want to jeopardize their safety, just so that you can get a project off the ground.
My respect, my mom passed at 72, so I don't have a mom. So when I see leaders in my community that are older than me, I come with a great level of respect, and that includes you. You have my word, and I'm going to go through each one of your issues, that we are going to work with the streets department and the city engineer to address these issues, including the lighting, including maybe at Bow Street, putting in the hearing impaired. And then we're going to also talk about, like I said to you today, looking at some traffic tamers to slow the traffic down on that street. And Madam Chair, I did not expect you to do it. We will work with the different departments to do it. And please forgive me if I misspoke. What we are saying is that we will need your support in sort of, if somebody doesn't call us back, I'm going to call you and say, can you help me so that this person calls us back? And we've had those kinds of conversations. As it relates to the senior citizens going back and forth, whether night or day, and I want to, if I'm allowed to give out some of the issues we spoke about.
Sure.
So a lot of your concerns are with the citizens going back and forth. Now, I could be smart and say, all the medical journals say that for them to be viable, they need to walk more. That's not even the point. The point is, you raised an issue about safety for the seniors. And so we're going to go, Madam Chair, we're going to go over and above. We're going to go over and above the issues that you raised. And we talked to the team today. We're going to do delivery, grocery delivery and food delivery. So bam, right there, all the issues of the seniors pushing their carts up the hill or trying to cross Bow Street with groceries, those issues are off the table, because I am obligating this Bethel Village to you, that whatever we do, the first thing we're going to offer our citizens is grocery delivery. Now, we can either contract with the service and make sure that it's free, or we'll work with the local supermarkets and markets. If they can deliver it free, if there's a cost, we will cover that cost for our seniors. So that takes a lot of the stuff off the table. Let me also say this, as my mom got older, well, she never drove, but she called us and we just take her wherever she, so I guarantee you, between the paratransit and like I said in my memo to you, Council President, it's a lot of 62-year-olds will not be in the building. And that's because people want to stay in their homes till they have ambulatory issues. So the national data shows that the average age of the person that's going to be in the building is 82 years old. And the national data shows that only 10% of them will have cars. So the parking spaces, and we'll look at this as we go. I believe, this is just my opinion, that a lot of the parking spaces are going to go to the visiting nurses.
They have to walk up the hill.
Well, again, they need to walk up the hill. It keeps them healthy. The visiting nurses, they're young people. They're not.
I'm there. And even when you sit there, older 62.
No, the visiting nurses on average, probably, again, this is just a professional guess, are under 40. So they can run up and down.
I think you put your foot in your mouth right here. Because let me say something to you. You're saying the average will be 62. Now, have you been out to Paxton Place off of Paxton Street?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I've not been in there.
Their parking lot is filled.
Right, I got you.
And that's a senior citizen house.
I got
The
you.
parking lot is filled, both sides.
I got you.
So when you say that 82-year-olds do not drive, that's not true. 82-year-olds can drive, including my mother who just recently passed. She drove up until she was about 84.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So, for you to take that position, that's not true. And then you have them parking at Tabernacle Baptist, which is at Capitol Street in Burr. And that's the hill that they have to come up. So you're saying that that would, and they need to walk. Well, how do you think the nurses need? You maybe have nurses that are 62 and 65 that still wants to continue their work.
I got you, but.
There's an elevator that's separate from that.
Oh, I understand.
Well,
Okay, I understand. Go ahead.
I just want to say, Council President, that I think that this is our 11th hearing, not here, but 11th hearing in terms of all the hearings going into our 12th. And I think that in terms of the way that we've interacted with you, I think we are obligated, we're morally obligated to protect the senior citizens of Harrisburg, and we're morally obligated to address the issues that you have raised, and we will.
I appreciate that. But it doesn't matter how many times you come here to get it right. You can come here 50 times. I want to make sure everything is right for the senior citizens. I had a gentleman just with Bill 10, they've been doing it for 7 years. We've given them several extensions. So if we have to do that, we'll do that. But I want to make sure everything is in place for senior citizens. I really want to advocate for senior citizens and development of senior citizen housing, even for low income. I'm an advocate for it, have been for the last 8 years, 10 years. So I'm excited for this because I know senior citizens need this. As well as you know, I've been door to door, and a lot of senior citizens do not have the necessary requirements to live in their homes. And they want to leave their homes, but they cannot do that because they cannot afford to. So this is just a project that I want to see get off the ground and complete to fruition. But I want to make sure it's accurate and right. And I want to make sure the health and safety of our citizens are first and priority.
We confer with you, and we agree with you.
Anyone else have any questions? I'll move to Ms. Bowers.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Green.
No, I don't have any questions at the time. Thank you.
Mr. Madsen.
No questions from me.
Mr. Abbott.
No, thank you.
Mr. Majors.
Oh, thank you.
Ms. Daniels. Okay. Thank you. Have a motion to go back into the business.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
We're back into legislative session. Mr. Petrosky, please call the vote. Resolution 60 of 2020.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers,
Yes.
Ms. Daniels, Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Mattson,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Resolution 60 passes.
And Mr. Souter, I still have your phone number. I'll be calling you.
I'm gonna be calling you tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Moving on to resolution 66 of 2021. Mr. Petrosky, please read it into record.
The resolution 60 of 2021 is a resolution authorizing the city of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a professional services agreement with Kittleson and Associates to provide on-call services supporting Vision Zero rapid response projects, including traffic and safety analysis, planning and design services.
Council members, any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, please call the vote.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers,
Yes.
Ms. Daniels, Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Mattson,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Resolution 66 passes.
Thank you. Moving on to resolution 67.
Resolution 67 of 2021 is a resolution of the Council of the City of Harrisburg supporting and protecting the right to organize Act, provides a generational opportunity for the labor movement and a framework to increase pay and protection for workers.
Any additional questions or comments, council members? Hearing none, please call the vote.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers,
Yes.
Ms. Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Mattson,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Resolution 67 passes.
Thank you. Moving on to resolution 68.
Resolution 68 of 2021 is a resolution authorizing the city of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a professional services agreement with Civitas LLC for the purpose of providing professional services to the city's Department of Building and Housing Development, including but not limited to technical assistance and general consulting services for general technical assistance, and tier 2 site-specific environmental review for emergency demolition.
That will be placed in building and housing committee. Now move on to resolution 69.
Resolution 69 of 2021 is a resolution approving the fifth proposed 2021 budget reallocation.
That will be placed in budget and finance committee. Moving on to resolution 70.
Resolution 70 of 2021 is a resolution reappointing Ms. Evelyn Hunt to serve on the License and Tax Appeal Board.
Council members, any questions or comments on the reappointment of Ms. Hunt? Hearing none, please call the vote.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers,
Yes.
Ms. Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Mattson,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Resolution 70 passes.
Moving on to resolution 71.
Resolution 71 of 2021 is a resolution reappointing Ms. Stacy Basor to serve on the License and Tax Appeal Board.
Any question or comments, council members? On Ms. Stacy Basher? Hearing none, please call the vote.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers,
Yes.
Ms. Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Mattson. Yes. Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Resolution 71 passes.
Thank you. Moving on to resolution 72.
Resolution 72 of 2021 is a resolution reappointing Mr. Dan Shoulder to serve on the License and Tax Appeal Board.
Council members, additional questions or comments on Mr. Schuler? Hearing none, please call the vote.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers,
Yes.
Ms. Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Mattson.
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Resolution 72 passes.
Thank you. Moving on to resolution 73.
Resolution 73 of 2021 is a resolution authorizing the city of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a memorandum of understanding with Impact Harrisburg to provide funding for the third round of neighborhood business stabilization program grants.
That will be placed in budget and finance committee. Moving on to resolution 74.
Resolution 74 of 2021 is a resolution confirming the mayoral appointment of Ms. Autumn Cooper to serve on the Citizens Law Enforcement Advisory Committee.
That will be placed in public safety committee. Council members, are there any old business this evening? Mr. Mattson?
Just a reminder to the community that they have one more week to comment on the comprehensive plan, either through the city's website, harrisburgpa.gov, comprehensive plan, or you can call 311 to get in contact with our clerk's office, or you can, arrange a time to get in contact with me through them, if you have other barriers or issues with submitting comments. And if my colleagues could have their amendments to me and our clerks in 2 weeks. That's the deadline we have for the amendments. Great, sooner rather than later, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mattson. Anyone else? Old business? Moving on to new business, council members, any new business?
Madam President,
Yes.
just a critical reminder, at least from the Law Bureau's perspective. Under the municipal planning code, this body is the appointing authority for the zoning board. Come November, we will be down to a single member and will not be able to function under the law, which is our obligation.
That was my new business.
Okay.
Zoning board, hearing board, 2 vacancies. Harrisburg Planning Commission, 1 vacancy. I do have a resume that I will report to one of the zoning hearing vacancies. I'm sorry, go ahead. That was part of my new business.
I thought you had already passed on the business, so I was
No,
trying
I
to get you
didn't.
before you hit the
I
gavel.
was just on the business, I just started.
So just.
Oh, go ahead before.
No, it just made me realize to we had gone back on emails, I think Tiffany and I responded about a reappointment for Russ Boggs for the Human Relations Commission. That's a mayoral appointment.
He was appointed by the mayor.
Is the mayor going to reappoint him? or-
Right, I believe so, and I believe they were all gonna come down together, they were
Okay.
gathering the resumes for everybody.
Okay, because I know that was just a concern to make sure continuity for that as well.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Council members, as Mr. Grover was indicating, we do have 2 vacancies on the zoning hearing board. I do have 1 resume that I will be submitting, as well as the Harrisburg Planning Commission. I do need 1 individual for appointment. So if you have anybody that you would like to submit their resume, please do so as soon as possible. And please keep in mind that we still have 2 vacancies on the Harrisburg Redevelopment Board that I would want to fill ASAP as well. Moving on to old business. The Capital Regional Order, I don't know if anyone is aware of this, they launched a new website for customers and visitors. The website is https://capitalregionalwater.com. And this is to answer any questions or concerns the visitor and customers have. Their phone number is 888-510-0606. Right. Other new business. There will be a groundbreaking ceremony on October the 28th, 2021. It will be at 2:00 p.m. behind the Camp Curtin Wine at the corner of Woodbine and Jefferson Street. It is the new construction of 4 single-family homes. Jamie and Harvey is the executive director. Any questions or concern, you may reach out to him at YMCA at North 6th Street. Another announcement is the Wolf administration will be distributing $655 million in American Rescue Plan funds. And it will be for a new state grant program for the child care program. So just a reminder for those who are listening, please keep in mind, please submit grants. And that's all the news that I have on under new business. Mr. Howard, you have something? Oh, okay. Anyone else?
Is there a decision on next week's meeting? Just
Okay, I will be at the Pennsylvania Municipal League Conference, so Mr. Allen will be conducting the meeting. And please, Mr. Knight, give me the information I need, and Mr. Allen, would you please look to put, move to put Bill 10 of 2020, Bill 10 of 2021 back on the agenda. Can we have a vote on that, Neil?
No, not without advertising a special session. It's your next
Okay.
voting session.
That's voting
Okay.
session.
10-12.
Is that too late then?
No, not that I'm aware of.
No, but I thought you said it was time sensitive.
Well, it is that they have to finish the construction.
I know, but I thought it was time sensitive as far as the financial piece.
That I do not know. I
You know that, Mr. Knight, because I was told that, I was aware of that information. I didn't know anything about that.
I am not aware of the time sensitive nature with regards to funding. I believe that the extension granted by council last year was in May of last year, I think. So I think they had a 2-year extension for the land development plan and all necessary components such as the street vacation to be finalized by then. But
It's 2
I,
years you've done the construction.
okay, it's 2 years.
So they have, I mean, their clock is running.
Okay,
And I can advertise for a special meeting at the beginning.
If the council wishes to do that.
I can do
but
that. I know that, that's why
Yes.
I can do that and then go into the work session. But could you find that information out, give me a call tomorrow, please?
sure.
And then Mr. Petrosky, I'll let you know what we're going to do with the agenda for next week, where we're going to include that.
The following week.
Pardon me, I mean, for the front row. Thank you. Anything else on the new business, council members tonight? Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you, council members. The meeting is officially adjourned.